All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Healthy Living Podcast brought to you by Willow Creek Springs. I'm Joe Grumbine, and we have Richard McCuen back with us again. He's becoming an old favorite, and this is episode 3 with Richard. And Richard, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Okay, thanks for having me.
Oh, fantastic. All right, let me get out of this. I feel like this background is like a suit with polyester in it, and I try to get out of it quick as I can. There we go. Now I'm in my natural habitat. Well, Richard, I am really enjoying our conversation about your PTSD program and the value that you've found both for yourself and others. You've began going through this 1,000 push-up regimen and even just how we're identifying it, the whole concept of starting small and building on it. Start with one and build on it. I think it's kind of cool. Like, I go through cycles sometimes I'll do exercises outside of just working in the yard, and sometimes I don't. And sometimes I just save all my strength to push that wheelbarrow, because you only have so much energy regardless of the focus of the strength. But then other times I feel like, my arms are feeling a little flabby. I don't know why, but I'll get out there and I'll start cranking some pull-ups or push-ups or dips or whatever. And all of a sudden you get that different kind of sore, and you're like, all right, I needed that. I feel good from doing that. I think to myself, did I just do that? Did I just put myself through discomfort to feel better? And well, what the hell is wrong with me? But apparently nothing.
Exactly. You end up feeling better by doing it. So one of the things starting to talk is about like the 1,000 push-up program, like how I created it. Pretty much, I didn't think it was really going to go anywhere. It was just something that I tapped into myself to heal me, and it started to resonate with others. But what I wanted to do was to break it down to where anyone with any type of situation can utilize this as a workout or a mental tool that actually works. So breaking the program not just to 1,000 push-ups or 1,000 reps in a exercise program, but to break it down to you, because as I laying there the other night, it came to me and I posted it, is there's 3 levels of trauma. And from what it told me was acute trauma is a result from like a single incident. So like a car accident, you break your arm, something like that. Gunshot to the shoulder, in and out, you got to heal. That's pretty much an acute trauma. So based on the 3 levels of the trauma would be where you would start with the program, depending on what level of trauma or where you're at mentally. And
before you go further, your program is an acronym that is called PTSD. Why don't you share with us again, for those people who are hearing this for the first time, what does your PTSD stand for?
It's, well, as everyone knows and has been misled, it's post-traumatic stress disorder. And those are just titles and definitions of different things that are all correlated together. And so what I did is developing the program was, how can I change that? Not just for myself, but for everyone else. And if they're going to make a title and put that on as a label to me or you, why not make it to where you can understand it and break away from it? And I came up with physical training standard dynamics, because everything is going to be physical, whatever you're going to do in any situation. You have to have some type of standard of whether in your beliefs. That's where the honor, courage, and commitment. That's what Marines are. The 3, core values that we are led by, and that's the honor in it. And if you have a physical situation and you have no training, you won't know what standard is going to be the outcome, because of the dynamics that unfold in a situation. So in other words, if like being in law enforcement and I pull my gun, that moment I pull my gun, there's no training, there's nothing, it's real world. And that's where things get complicated. And if you don't have any training to understand that, that's where things can get, real bad for anybody, and things can go really wrong. People can die, or you can get hurt. So understanding that there's a level of training for the mind, and there's a level of training for the body. One has to be in control. And if your body's more in control of your mind, it's why you're out of control. So you need to teach yourself somewhere a balance to where neurologically you can connect again, and starting at a low level, 1-for-1, it builds that 1,000. To me, I was 1-for-1 everywhere in my head. So it took me 1,000 to, to be able to have this type of conversation, or to be able to help somebody else, get out of where the
What a great
fog that I was in.
starting point, though, to be like, I know like people think to themselves, well, that's not for me because, right? There's always that
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, they come from the no point of view. I can't, well, I can't because I have this problem, I have that problem, I can't, could never do this or that or the other thing. But this breaks it down so simple that, like you were even saying, just anybody can do one knee push-up, right? Like, get on your knees like you're gonna crawl, and instead of crawling, take your arms, go down to the ground and come back up again. And you're only lifting a third of your body weight. It's if you can't do that, then we have another conversation probably, but probably 99.75% of the people out there can do that one. And that's the starting point that everybody gets to be level on. So it's like there's nothing keeping anybody from doing this except for themselves.
Correct. And that's why I wanted to break it down to where everyone can utilize it, instead of just, somebody at my level, or a veteran, or somebody that's had, works out, or an athlete, the basic, your neighbor, your little son or daughter, how can they utilize something like this that can help them mentally or physically? So it's breaking it down depending on the three, levels of the trauma, depending on where you're at and what you're asking as far as help. We'll be in a category of the 3 phases, to where you'll start, where you'll crawl, and then you'll learn to walk, and then you'll be able to run. And that's being able to have that freed in your mind. It's it just, I don't know how to explain it. It just it's a feeling of joy, right? That you've pushed yourself through your own BS, the things that you felt you weren't capable of doing. And when you do that, it's a little spark. It goes off deep down inside you, and that's where
It's shot of dopamine that your brain gives you.
right.
That's
The endorphins get released.
Good job, buddy. You did good. And there's nothing that can replace that feeling. Like, I know, like we were talking before the show, I said, sometimes I'll get in a weird spot where I'll like, I'm going to get down and do some push-ups and or pull-ups or whatever. And then you think to yourself, well, how many did I do last time I did that? And then, if you haven't done them for a while, you're probably not going to get to where you left off. But then you hit a new starting point. And then a day or two later, however you set it up, you go, well, that's my line to break. And even if you just get one more, God dang it feels good. Like, there's this really, like, it feels better than you feel from strengthening yourself. You accomplish something, and it's like you get to do that all along the way when you engage a program like this.
Oh yeah. And it, like, when I first started, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I couldn't even hold myself in a push-up position on my knees and hands because of the lower lumbar. When you're in a push-up position like that and your weight is going down, your back bows.
Right.
L1, L5 in the lower lumbar, that's where your spine is, and it bows. So any type of pressure going down, all the nerve endings and everything you feel. So I had to find that little spot where I didn't feel any pain, and then I could just slowly maneuver it until where it was a full movement.
Right.
The push-ups on the knees, don't worry about it. Oh, I can't do a push-up or a pull-up, or tell yourself, yes, you can. Let's try.
Let's try.
See where you're at. If you fail,
Exactly.
well, at least you did. You tried that. And that'll give you the effort to do it again.
Well, there's also that feeling, like, how often do you push yourself mentally or physically to the edge. Like most people don't ever. They go through their life and they operate at a quarter throttle. Like you don't ever, people don't put an effort in, you know, mentally, if you got to try to solve a really difficult puzzle, project, problem, or you need to write something in a particular way, or physically, if you see the end of your endurance, like we were just talking about that guy Goggins, or I consider yourself, you know, this dude broke the world record of pull-ups and he pushed through friggin' broken bones to do it. Like to be able to push yourself through, or even something like, you know, a woman who goes through a horrible experience and finds a way to separate herself from her body and get through it because she's at the edge where you can't go through anymore. So you find a way that says, okay, I'm gonna at the edge, I gotta go above, around, through, under. I'm getting past that edge though. Now I'm in a new place. And that, I think there's something hugely powerful about that place of I never did it before, I couldn't do it before, but I'm gonna push until I can. There's a huge power.
Like doing 1,000, it wasn't even in my mind when I started. I just went back to, you know, doing push-ups. Like my mind was, nothing was working. I wasn't getting any help. My body was shutting down. So to me, I just felt if, you know, I was going to go, at least I'm going to go, you know, on my feet, standing, fighting, you know, and push myself to take it anymore, you know, and that opened up, you know, new signaling and neurologically in my brain because of the intense pressure from the workout. The brain has to reduce or produce more hormones and stuff to, you know, for the body to keep up. Like, hey, he's going crazy now. We got to keep up.
You know, so what actually kind of happens, and I don't know the chemistry of it, but I know the practical application of it. Like I said, when you get to yourself where you push yourself to that place where you don't think you can go past, but you keep pushing with all you've got, the next time you do it, it's a little easier.
A little easier.
And then the next time you do it, you almost crave to get yourself to the end so that you can push and get that. And it's like, if there's a good addiction in life, which I think there are plenty of good addictions in life, is if you can get yourself hooked on that feeling of pushing yourself past the point that you are capable of. And like I said, it could be mental, it could be doing breath work, it could be meditating. You know, how many people can meditate for 10 minutes straight without a thought in their head? Not a whole lot.
Yeah, we could end up covering that too.
There you go. We'll get into that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because it's just like your preparation is pretty much the baseline of success for anything you're going to do. Especially if you've never done something before, you want to prep and plan, at least mentally, you know, about it before you jump into it, instead of just jumping into it. So how I broke it down with the 3 phases is so anyone can jump into it and do it. Yeah, we have, you know, tier 1 operators and that are, you know, successfully doing the 1,000, you know, push-ups a day program for 30 days. But how do we engage everyone else? So breaking it down, you know, baby steps, because that's pretty much like we start all, you know, we're not the warriors we are right now. Before we joined, we had to be trained. So we're pretty much at that low level, the, you know, stage 1, and then the progression of healing. And at the end, you're a different person. And you can also tell and see the difference of how you started and where you came from and where you ended up. You know, the mentally is really where it's a better breaking point instead of punishing the body. Because if you punish the mind, the body will keep up. But if you punish the body, the mind, it's a reverse, and it doesn't send a signaling to where you're going to keep going.
Right.
So 1 for 1, like when I did the 1,000, I ended up tell you, Joe, it was up to like 5,000 push-ups a day.
Wow.
I ended up doing. That was after my buddy with ALS, and that was just shits and giggles myself. You know, how far can I push myself? Well, that was the limit, and I don't want to do that anymore. But that brought me back to, how do you do 2,000 push-ups in a day? You know, how was I doing that? Well, my mindset, I didn't need to think about that first 1,000
Right.
or any of it,
That's
because
a
my
starting point. Get
body,
to that.
yes, my body has already, I've already done that. So the
Right.
1,001, that one push-up
That's
after
number
1,000
one.
is all new territory.
Right.
So that's my focus. I only have to do 1,000 still.
Yeah.
So, but it's two. So
Yeah.
you
No, I
think
get it.
about that 1,000, didn't understand it. They're like, no, that just doesn't make sense. Well,
Yeah.
if
No, it
you
makes
did one
perfect sense.
push-up and
Yeah.
quit, how do you know you couldn't have done two?
Right.
Well, let me see. I need to think two push-ups. You already did that one, so the other one becomes more repetitive to being successfully in your
Absolutely.
reach. So breaking everything down, all your problems in your head, they're out here. How do you simplify them to where you can simplify it to one thing, makes it easier. So
Right.
the numbers down in the small increments, instead of thinking of larger increments, I was more able to and achieve that ladder to climb that and be successful at it. So breaking that down in a mental aspect in the program, a lot more people will be able to engage into it. And I think that that's where it needs to go now, instead of just, like a David Goggins type of workout.
Right.
Like I'm not even David Goggins, I mean, things I've done, people say, you're extraordinary, but I'm just a normal guy, just like you or anyone else. It's
That's the cool
fire
thing
within
about
the person.
extraordinary people is we recognize that we're just regular people.
Yeah, well, that's what a superhero is an ordinary person doing extraordinary things.
There
It's
you
not
go.
Hollywood,
Exactly.
cape and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Normal people,
It's
and
regular underneath it all. We're all the same. I saw this thing, uh, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and it had a picture of a bunch of skeletons. And the skeleton above it, one of them said, an Asian man. The other one said a rich woman. This one was a young white girl. This was, and all this was, and all these different kinds of people. But you look at the skeletons and they all looked identical. Like there's no way to tell any of it. So
yeah,
that's the part that we got to remember is, through it all, it's about these choices that we make more than what we're wrapped in.
and and that's what it has broken down to is it's not just a workout. It's pretty much a guideline for life. Like a lot of people like sports. One of the number one sports I think mentally is golf, and it's a like a structure of life. The game is a way of life. What you get out of it is what you put into it. You know, you can have that real good golf shot, holding one, and that next shot goes and hits a car and causes an accident, and the rest of your day is bad. But
Right.
you still want to go back because that hole in one.
Yep.
So it's that ability, and it teaches you that respect within yourself to hold yourself accountable for your own actions instead of putting them onto others,
Right.
because you have to push yourself. And that's why push-ups are the number one mental health exercise in the world. And if you could think about that, all your problems are up in here. So whenever you're pushing yourself and you're laying there on the ground, where are your problems? They're still here. They're on your back. All that weight's there. It's up to you to push through that. That weight's there. It bothers you. It's gonna be painful. But the more you sit there and let it build up more weight, it becomes more pressure, and you can't do anything about it.
Right.
And it explodes. So if you just have to push through that. I can, I will,
Yep.
and
Those are two of
do
the
it
most
one at a time.
powerful phrases anybody could carry with them. If you got those two phrases, I can and I will, because they're two different things. They're very different things. And they're both, there's really only three words in those two phrases. And the one word is I. Well, there's only one I, and will and can, man. You got those three words together, and really anything can follow that in a sentence.
One of my drill instructors, I did boot camp. I was there for 6 months instead of one cycle, 3 months. I broke my leg below the knee
Oh no.
from a stress fracture,
Yikes.
and I just out of shape, not used to all the running and all the vibration. It splintered in the inside and all the way to the out, to where it
Oh.
snapped it. So I had to do 6 months on the island. So I could have quit at any time, I mean, every day they tell me, take me to physical therapy with my little crutches on the little yellow bus.
I'm sure they treated you well for that, huh?
Yeah, they really treat you even better, when you hurt yourself.
Right.
So one thing, one of my drill instructors told me whenever my leg broke and I had to be recycled, they called it MRP, Military Rehabilitation Platoon, which was pretty much where they sent all the, everybody that was fat. They called it pork chop platoon instead of that, because that's what I was called when I was in it. It was a pork chop platoon. Yeah, you have stripes on there. So you're a diet recruit. You couldn't eat anything. It was just all bad. So I
Yeah,
had to go with all those guys because I was hurt. So
right.
2 months there. Well, I remember, I never forgot it. I was in pain. He could tell I didn't want to quit, but he knew I couldn't continue. And he told me, he goes, I'm gonna have to recycle you, which means, I get dropped and I have to, go back to that training day whenever I heal. He says, but I want to tell you something. He says, you never quit. Do not quit. Don't give up. And he goes, you have the heart.
Yeah.
And when he
That's the
told me
hardest
that, I
part to
forgot
find
all
right
about my
there.
bone, and I ended up making it off the island and graduating, becoming a Marine because of that. Because of that. Even though they were killers and wanted to kill me at the time, he showed that,
Killers
the
wanted to
nicest
kill.
side of him, and he actually cared. So that made me just, want to stay there and fight through everything. And that's pretty much the mentality I've had ever since, is never give up. You're never out of the fight. There's always somebody there to help you, even if you don't think that you that's the biggest thing, is asking for help,
Right.
I think, for somebody. And it was one of the biggest things for
For
me
sure.
to ask, to say, hey, as a grown man, I don't know what to do. I need your help. You
Right.
know, there's nothing wrong with that. But that's the point of getting to, and where these programs have come from, and these conversations, is because there is somebody that needs that help. So being silent about what has worked for you, or what has worked for somebody else, I think we need to have that family, to where we can actually pull from each other and we can heal better, instead of just thinking alone that we're on our own. Nobody feels the way I do, or my situation is different from this person's. We're all in the same thing, and we're all trying to get through it in the best way we can. So the information that I may have could help somebody else, and I know it helped me, and it's helping a lot of other people that are doing the program, especially with the CBD. And that's what's fueling me to just, quit being silent, and start helping people, and letting them know the knowledge that, can help and does work.
Well, I'm excited. We're just about out of time, but I'm just excited because you're opening up doors. These 3 conversations we've had have literally just been knocking on a door and opening up just a little bit to see that there's this wonder and amazing stuff inside. So if you look, I'm wearing a shirt that says Gardens of Hope, and that is a 501c3 nonprofit that we just have launched, and you're now part of our advisory team. And the idea of that is therapeutic horticulture and education. And it's basically the idea of taking outside the gardens. You look through me a little bit, you can see just the tip of my garden, but everybody's got a garden. Even if you have one little plant in a pot sitting on your balcony, there's a garden there. And and that's the key of this, is that when we connect to the earth, when we connect to the life force of the earth by taking care of a plant or being part of it, or we'll walk through all kinds of stuff in there, it opens up the door to healing. And any of these programs, in my vision, I see, physical training, yoga, all kinds of different healing modalities, all happening at the garden, whether it's my garden or your garden or this garden over here or there. That's the point of it all. These gardens are everywhere. They could be anywhere on any place in the earth, and it could be inside, it could be outside, it could be, in Antarctica. There's a way that you can do. It could be up on a space station. if you can find a way to have some connection to, the soil and a planter too, you can tap into this. I feel like we're opening up the door. This whole podcast is about healthy living and a community. And I believe that this program, your PTSD program, is also about community, and we're just beginning to explore that. But I'm excited to keep opening this up more and more and seeing what's inside. And I'm going to commit myself to participating in your program as I can understand it and put it together a little bit more. And we all have healing. We can all think we're together. We all are fine. I'm fine. I feel great. Guess what? You need to close your eyes and open them again, and you'll find something ain't right, because there's something ain't right with all of us. And even if it's just for a reset, but we all need it, and it's good for you. So that's what I'm going to do. For me, I like to hear about things, but I call myself a tinkerer. I like to experiment. I like to try things and see them firsthand. And that's how I can, when I talk to you about something I know, it's because I know it, and it's because I've done it, and I've experienced it. Well, I'm listening to you tell me about your experiences, and then I'm going to try it. Then I'll be able to talk about it from my experiences.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. Is I hope it can bring other people's experiences out so that they could share, and maybe that can help somebody else. Because that's how it started with me, just me posting my workout. And then somebody was like, wow, that's awesome. And then I want to do that. And then it just word, and it just spread into what it is pretty much today. And it's pretty amazing. It was something that I did that helped me when no one else helped me, and I didn't get the medical, I didn't get any of that, So it was like God and me created this program, and I'd like to break it down to where other people can heal from it as well, but they pull from it their version. Because even my son, he hasn't done it. He'll do 1,000 reps, but he hasn't done 1,000 push-ups. He's created his program, and that's what, to me, that's what it's about. He took something that I created and he made it into something for him, and that's what it's about. This is it's a program, but it can be utilized and designed to fit you and your lifestyle and how you deal with things. So that's where we're at and what we want to do, and take it from here, and tying it in with the Gardens of Hope. I think that's would be a good thing, and I'm actually honored to have that opportunity.
Great mix. Well, we're about out of time here. I appreciate you being here with me today, and it's always a treat. I love how this is moving forward, and I see that we're just barely getting the door to start opening. So we got endless possibilities, endless conversation, and endless ways to benefit. And I'm gonna begin engaging myself in your program sooner than later, and I'm gonna learn how to get started. Maybe that'll be the next episode. You can actually walk me through specifically what do I need to do, and where how it is. Treat me like I'm a guy walking into your program, and I will be able to share my progress in subsequent episodes.
Nice. We could do that. That'd be awesome.
All right, Richard, always a pleasure. You got a final parting shot for us?
I'm sorry, you faded out.
A final parting shot for us.
Oh, yes. Just everybody have a great weekend. It's 4th of July weekend. So take care of your pets. Make sure that they're not in the heat, and be safe. Have a wonderful weekend. You can reach me at I Wish I Had CBD. It's on Facebook or Instagram. My number's on there. You can instant message me however you need to get a hold of me, and we can just simply, talk or whatever you need to do. Just, I'm open, to hear from you. So
fantastic. All right,
yeah,
Richard. We'll see you guys the next time. This has been the Healthy Living Podcast, brought to you by Willow Creek Springs. We'll see you next time.